heard up front, especially for the floor. So it is now 6:35. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Will you please rise if you're physically able and say a pledge of allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Andrew Benson. Here. Doug Day.
Here.
Bronwyn Losey.
Here.
Joseph Wetmore.
Here.
Edward Levine.
Here. So now moving on to item number 4. Before we go there, I think we need to have some clarification that these, would you say, Mrs. Munson, be up to 3 minutes for comments?
Yes.
Okay. Having said that, I guess we're into the first public hearing.
I'll move it.
Okay,
I'll second it.
it's second.
Doug Day and Andrew, right?
You
You want to say what the public hearing is for?
Sure. So this is a motion to open the public hearing for proposed local law number 3 of 2021. First of all, can everybody hear me okay? Yes? Okay. So this is a motion to open the public hearing for proposed local law number 3 of 2021 pursuant to New York State Cannabis Law 131, opting out of allowing on-site cannabis consumption establishments within the town of Lansing.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
So the first one we have, this is correct, right? The other one we have here, Mrs. Munson.
Yes.
The first one we have for comment is, but is it Bettina?
Yes.
Bettina Arleo. You can use the microphone, please.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Thank you.
You're a little soft, so if you could speak loudly, please.
Okay, good evening. Thank you for allowing me to speak at this moment. I emailed all of the board members an email with several attachments which support my support the opting out of the sale and consumption of cannabis in our community. In that email, there are 2 links. One of them is to an article that states that across New York, there are already hundreds of towns and villages that are opting out. And then the other link shows a tracker that shows you specifically what each village or town has done. I'd like to just highlight a few things, and they are all in detail in the attachments. And number 1 is that marijuana is a gateway drug in Tompkins County in the year from 2019 to 2020. The number of opioid-related deaths, ER visits, and Narcan administration by EMS has gone up significantly. And now we're talking about introducing possibly a gateway drug. Secondly, I'd like to say that marijuana use is associated with increased violence. It is not a green crop, and also the potential revenue that might be considered to come in from the sale would have to be, you have to sell something like, according to Delaware County in New York State, they would have had to sell $50 million worth of cannabis and then get $19,000 from the state. So if you do the math and bring down the numbers to a reasonable amount of sale per year, I don't know, Lansing might get $1,000. So, so if you have any, if you need clarification of anything in the email that I sent you, or if you want more information, I have much more that I could share with you if you're interested. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Now, we don't have anybody in the waiting room. CJ is my understanding for local law number 3. Do we have anybody else that would, this is a public hearing, wants to comment about local law number 3 that's in this building?
We do have someone named Pixel 6 Pro. But I'm not sure which public hearing they're here to speak for, so I could just admit them now if it pleases the board.
Would you please, and we can find out.
Sure. Okay, they don't appear to be connecting. There are 3 others in the waiting room. One is a member of the Lansing Advisory Committee on Power Plant Future looking to do the presentation item 10. And there's also 2 folks, as my understanding, have pre-registered with the town clerk for agenda item 6. So
Or if there's no one else to take advantage of the public hearing.
You want number 6. You don't want this, you signed up for the next one. No, the gentleman behind you.
Either one.
Okay, you signed up on the other two. So,
Roger, I can put you on for number 3 if you want to comment on that one also.
That'd be fine.
So this will be Roger Vanderpool. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Yep, thank you. Good evening.
You're welcome.
I attended the first public hearing a few weeks ago regarding this subject and heard quite a few comments from residents of the town of Lansing as well as the sheriff. And then we just had a comment tonight. So I'm not going to repeat what people have said. They did a great job. It appears that the consensus is that nobody is speaking in favor of this. And I trust that, you know, the purpose of the public hearing is to listen to the people and to vote accordingly. So as far as any establishments of any type associated with cannabis in the town of Lansing, I'm in agreement with what I'm hearing, that to opt out is the best vote. Thank you.
Ed, we do have somebody that just showed up, James Gray.
Okay.
I can admit them.
Want to speak about this? Does he want to speak about this in this public hearing?
I'm not sure, but we could admit them.
Doesn't matter.
Let's send out a ping and find out.
Okay.
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 Hello, Mr. Gray. Are you here to comment on the public hearing for local law number 3? Mr. Gray? I'll take that as a no. Okay. If there is no one else that wants to use the opportunity for the public hearing.
another person came in.
I am, sir. Thank you for taking me. Just dialed in to state my support for opting out of the hearing.
Okay.
So yeah, I think that once we get zoning better established, it'll be a better time to determine whether or not we can have these establishments within the town of Lansing. Right now, our best bet. Our best bet is to not have these at the moment. So I support opting out. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gray.
So yeah, I think that.
A little while ago, I don't know. Were you planning to speak at one of the public hearings? Whoever was it.
Let me, okay, let me just talk this generically. Does anybody here want to speak pertaining to local law number 3, which we're discussing right now? You do? Okay. Then come up to the microphone and give us your name and we'll go from there.
Good evening, my name is Helen Baker. I'm a resident of Lansing, and I spoke at a previous meeting, and I just wanted to again show my support to opt out of both options. I believe that's option 3.
And 4.
I hope that helps.
Oh, no, you're entitled to your viewpoint. That's why you have these public hearings. Absolutely. And I hope that you feel comfortable sharing them because we try to encourage it. So thank you for coming.
Well, thank you for, opening it up to the public. And I think it's very important, and I really support, the opt-out version. So thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone else? Come up. Hello. You just need your name, please.
Catherine McKay.
Catherine McKay, okay.
I just wanted to make that statement that I totally agree with opting out at this time and even in my future. So, I don't know if this comes up again.
I'm really having trouble hearing her. Can you speak into the microphone directly, please?
Sure. I just want to say that I'm in support of opting out at this time and even in the future. So I don't know, I heard something said about zoning. And, because I've been hearing about future zoning plans. And even in the future to opt out. Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Anyone else? No one else, CJ, at your end?
Well, there's 2 people.
Not for, yes, the 2 people remaining in the waiting room are waiting to speak on item 6.
Okay. And we're still on item 4, soon to be closing out this public hearing. So, would someone like to entertain to close the public hearing?
I'll move that.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
So the next item on the agenda is a motion to open the public hearing for proposed local law.
There isn't the number for that one.
Okay. To amend zoning to regulate retail cannabis dispensaries, maximum of 3 minutes per speaker. Is this premature?
Yes.
I'll move.
Who's moving that?
Brown.
Joe.
It
was Joe.
We said we
It was
were
Joe.
doing this.
It was
Okay.
Joe.
Joe was the second?
Yeah.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Okay. CJ, I believe you have people in there for item number 6. in the
We're
waiting
on
room.
5.
We're on 5.
That's correct. To 2 folks.
No one
are
on
in-
item 5 that wants to talk about this in the public hearing. I'm getting that from CJ's standpoint. Is there anybody here that
None of
wants
them
to?
were.
This is a public hearing and they're allowed to speak about it, so I have to mention this.
Right, right.
So I guess we'll wait a minute. If someone wants to make a comment about the zoning, so be it. If not, we'll move to close the public hearing.
May I ask a question? And I'm having trouble hearing.
Sure, that's okay.
The zoning that you're talking about is related to the cannabis, okay? And so you would still have to, even if we opted out, you would still have to prepare zoning regulations, or is it, if we choose to opt out, is it just
So,
nullify everything?
so let me jump in on this a little bit, if I may. Am I allowed to do this during a public hearing, or do we just listen to the public?
Yes, I think you're fine.
Okay.
But maybe pull your mic. a little closer.
Thank you.
Okay, can we hear you okay? Okay, so this may sound like it's premature, but let's say hypothetically, we opt out. It still could go for a permissive referendum. 5% of the people that voted in the last gubernatorial election in Lansing, the town of Lansing would have to sign a petition, and there would be a vote on it. So in many ways, we're trying to get the zoning in front of it just in case, to be prepared for this, as opposed to OMG, here it comes, now where's it supposed to go? And somebody, we've had those situations before where people put stuff in allowed use. And you've seen it before with certain businesses. And so I think now we're learning our lessons to be as fast as we can proactive and do it that way. So on face value, it may seem like, well, should you wait until you find out if you want to do it? But on the other hand, it wouldn't be bad to be proactive about this. So at least we know where these things would go if it gets voted down and there's a referendum and it gets voted in. We've done that before with water districts. We've done that before with other things where people can challenge it. And that's their right. And if the town of Lansing residents want to vote on this, then they own it. And I can't think of a better way myself than if everybody vote on something like this if they think it's that, I want to say,
Critical.
such a strong item, shall we say, okay?
Thank you.
You're welcome. On that note, does someone want to? We're closing the public hearing?
I'll move that we close it.
I'll second it.
Ooh, if an old guy buzzing pretty fast, I'm not.
So it was Andrew, and who was the second?
The old guy.
What's that?
Yeah, that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Anybody opposed?
Okay, number 6, would someone like to move to open the public hearing for proposed law, local law number 4 of 2021, pursuant to New York State Cannabis Law 131, opting out of allowing retail cannabis dispensaries within the town of Lansing. Someone like to move that? Motion?
I'll move it. I'll
Doug
move
moves
it.
Okay, got Doug.
Is there a second?
Second.
Andrew seconds it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, this is where, CJ, there's 2 people in the Zoom for this, I believe.
Yeah, CJ, you have the helm here. It's going to be John Dan, going to be the first one.
Okay, admitting no, we'll just know.
So beam him up. Mr. Dan, are you with us? Mr. Dan? Hey,
Can
there
you
you
hear
are.
me? Ah,
Yeah.
thank you.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, my friend, go ahead. 3 minutes. Up to 3
Thank
minutes,
you.
go ahead.
To pull up this. Thank you, everyone, for the chance to speak again regarding the newly legalized cannabis industry. Today, I'd like to talk about the impacts we can expect on public safety from the newly regulated industry. According to the assessment of the potential impact of regulated marijuana in New York State, which was published by the New York State Health Department, There has been no increase in violent crime or property crime rates around medical marijuana dispensaries that have opened in New York State. On a national level, according to the Reason Foundation, a libertarian think tank, there are 4 results of legalizing recreational cannabis. Number 1, users end up substituting marijuana for other more dangerous drugs, especially alcohol and opiates. Number 2, marijuana consumers substitute legal marijuana for illicit marijuana, taking money away from organized crime and drug cartels. There is a significant reduction in crimes associated with marijuana production, distribution, sales, and possession. And number 4, there is an overall reduction in crime, including property and violent crimes. In a study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, states that have legalized cannabis have seen changes in youth consumption that are statistically indistinguishable from zero. In certain areas, AMA researchers found that teen use actually lessened after legalization. This finding is supported by the AMA's sister journal, the Journal of the American Medical Association Pediatrics, that showed an 8% decline in teen use in states where adult use is legal. Fortunately, there has been an increase in the number of children who mistakenly eat edibles, most of whom only exhibit symptoms of lethargy and sleepiness, according to Dr. Sam Wang, an AMA researcher. The Nationwide Children's Hospital found that 1,969 children under the age of 5 were reported to poison control centers in the United States because of cannabis exposure between the years 2000 and 2013. While 2,000 children over 13 years is a very small number in comparison to the 24 million children in the US under age 5, and all of these children recovered from their cannabis exposure, the Office of Cannabis Management will require legal cannabis to be packaged in child-resistant containers that are clearly labeled and not intentionally attractive to children. Driving does not become statistically more dangerous after legalization either. 3 years after the legalization of regulated marijuana in Colorado, according to a study cited in the impact assessment, there was no significant increase in motor vehicle crash rates. Another study found that 3 years after legalization, the number of vehicle-related fatalities in Washington and Colorado were not statistically different from fatality rates in states that had not legalized cannabis. The CDC also completed a 10-year study in Arizona and found that legalized cannabis did not increase the risk of fatal car accidents, even on cannabis-themed holidays, such as April 20th or 420.
Okay, Mr. Dan, your 3 minutes are up, I'm sorry.
I would like to hear the rest of his presentation, please.
Well, if we do it for one, Joe, we have to do it for everybody else. So we need some consistency here, and we all were made aware of that. We have also been packet, Joe, please don't be rude, let me finish. We've also have seen the packet, and we've heard Mr. Dan before. So if I do it for one, I'm gonna have to go back and do it for everybody, and I don't think that's fair. So in the sense of fairness, I think we should move on. We've all had a chance to read this, by the way, and I thank you for saying this in advance.
I don't see the problem in letting him and other people speak for an extra minute or two.
I'll leave it up to the board. What do you want to do?
How much longer is it?
About 1:20.
All right, speak fast.
Everybody okay with that? Because everybody else can also get another minute, 20 seconds.
That's fine.
Well, it's fine because you got that, because you got what you wanted. What I'm saying though is that we have to think of the bigger picture. So if Bronwyn and Doug are okay with this, we'll move forward.
I'm okay with it.
Doesn't matter what I think then.
Okay.
You guys gotta learn how to follow rules, by the way.
Would be nice.
That's rules, stuff to, guidelines. Thank you. Go ahead and speak.
Thank you. Members of the law enforcement community rightly point out that they do not have the tools to determine who is driving under the influence of cannabis, but they will very soon. The University of Arizona has patented gyroscopic technology that can be used in place of a breathalyzer when an officer performs a field sobriety test, which would be able to ascertain a person's reaction time and balance regardless of what they consumed or how much. Also, several companies are beta testing breathalyzers that can detect THC in the lungs for 2 to 3 hours after cannabis use. Studies show this is the window in which cannabis users are most impaired and should not be driving. The breathalyzers even detect when a person has used edibles. After 100 years of prohibition and misinformation, we are now being asked to allow something that until recently it was our job as responsible citizens to forbid. Converting to a database understanding of cannabis users, and the reality of cannabis use will take time and patience. But in the meantime, we do have reliable information to show that allowing retail cannabis dispensaries in Lansing is actually a safe and beneficial way to exert more control over how our community interacts with cannabis. I'm going to stop sharing now. Thank you for being generous with your time.
Okay. That brings us to second one, which is Don and Kathy, is it Simons? I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
Yeah, admitting now.
Thank you. Hello, Mr. Simons. I hope I pronounced your name right.
Yes, you did.
This is Don and Kathy, is it Simons?
Yes, Simons. Yep. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for allowing me to speak at this meeting. I appreciate it this evening. I look at this from a little bit more narrow perspective, and that is the use of cannabis for medical purposes. At this point, the closest...
Mr. Simons, I hope I pronounced your name right. Yes, you did.
If you have your YouTube on, it's going to have a delay.
Okay. I have it off now. As I was saying, I look at this from a little bit different perspective for medical use of cannabis. At this time, in order to use this locally, you have to go up to Syracuse or Binghamton, and it's a very costly thing to do that is not covered under your insurance. I think having the option to have a recreational dispensary, which is regulated by the town of Lansing, is a much better option for some of the people that rely on this for medicinal use. By going to a formal recreational dispensary, you're getting product that you know what is in it, and you're not taking any chances that something that you get illicit may provide, such as other drugs like fentanyl that are being laced into this. So I think it provides a level of safety that you get from the medicinal side of it too, if you have to go up to Syracuse for your product. I also think that this way the town can exert some control over this, whether it be from a zoning perspective or also from the retail sales of this. I like the idea of keeping my money and my business locally, and I support having retail dispensaries in the town of Lansing. I appreciate you allowing me to give my opinion on this.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Simons.
Thank you.
Tina, are you? Back.
Thank you. Just for the record, I continue to oppose the sale of cannabis in Lansing, town of Lansing. I know that people can purchase it online if they would like to. And I also have opposing data from the previous commenter. So if you're interested in that, I could provide that to you. So that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Roger Vanderpool.
I'm talking about retail establishments.
This is number 6. Yes. Okay. Anybody else from the public that's in this building that wants to speak on this? CJ, is there anybody else waiting?
Nope, no other folks in the waiting room, other than the black PPF.
Okay. So, someone like to make a motion to close the public hearing then?
So moved.
I'll second it.
So Doug makes a motion. Does anybody second it?
Joe.
Joe did. Joe seconds it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
So we go to item number 7, which is the cannabis discussion. I'll let the board speak. This is where the board speaks. I just want to have a moment of clarity. This is not for us to pass if cannabis can be sold. It's only if it can be sold here and consumed on premises. The analogy was that look at a liquor store and a bar. It was alcohol, this is cannabis. And so this is here to stay. It's a matter of, do we want it to be either sold and or consumed here? Let's just get this clear, okay? So having said that, if somebody wants to jump in and have a discussion, I hope it'll be a reasonable amount of time. This isn't a debate. If someone wants to make their comments, if somebody else says something, I don't think it's appropriate to debate back and forth. Well, remember, that's what are your comments on certain things, then we can consider.
This was meant to be a town board discussion to figure out.
Correct.
Okay,
Just town board members, that's it.
correct. Yes, I wanted to make sure that people understood that.
So you want to go in alphabetical order, or you want to just, who wants to chime in first? It's fine by me either way.
Or maybe there's another step.
Well, I'll jump in. I'm always happy to jump in. I hear the concerns and appreciate everyone who came to speak. And also think that because we're talking about a really narrow decision that we're making, where we're going to allow one specific type of retail and or on-site consumption, I think that it would help improve safety and both of the product and for the community. So I am in favor of not opting out personally.
Okay. Anyone else?
Sure, I'll step in. I appreciate all the people who have sent comments in and come before the board and have actually read the comments and went and looked up footnotes and followed up on the stuff that's been sent on both sides. So I really appreciate all the thoughts. Right now we have sales of marijuana in Lansing. We have consumption all over Lansing. There's no question about it. It's throughout our town. The question that we have before us right now is, do we want to transfer some of those sales to an above ground economy, or do we want to keep them all in the underground economy? And to quote our website, Lansing's open for business, I would like to bring some of that to the above ground economy. I think it's safer for the consumers. I think it's safer for the retailers. I think it's better for our community to take this out of the underground economy and put it in the above ground economy. And that's what we're really looking at changing.
Okay. Anyone else?
If I might,
I'm sorry, Doug?
if I might, I can go next.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, we've got if we don't do anything, right, we're in. So we obviously are taking the road where we are going to look to vote on this. And we can opt in anytime we want. Anytime. We can opt in next month. Real simple. I don't think I can't get the vision of the last meeting where Derek Osborne, our sheriff, spoke to us and had told us they had no way to detect it, even though John Dan came on and said there is new research on the fact that they can. Is that in place yet? No. So I in good conscience, and we've had more people talk against it than we have people talk for it. Not to mention, if we opt out, we can still go to the referendum, right?
Correct.
So if we want it that bad, why don't we let the whole place, why don't we let everybody vote on it if they want to? It just seems prudent to me to follow that stuff. But a referendum would give us a better view of people that want it or don't. And I just can't in good conscience vote for it. So I'm voting to opt out.
I'd also like to thank everybody who showed up. I'm here in person when I see these people in person, and I know it takes some effort to come here and to speak, and I thank you very, very much for speaking so frankly about your opinions. I happen to agree with Doug, because if we opt out, we can always opt in the future. I'm very worried about the children in our town. And I went around and looked at different places around our so-called town center, which is sort of right around here, wondering where there could possibly be a store to sell cannabis. And I don't see any place that is appropriate until we get a better handle on our different zoning. And also, there's too many, there's the ball fields, there's children there, there's a daycare center, there's a school for dance, and it's all right around here. And that really bothers me. And if the drop-in center opens up in the future, that's right next door. So I would rather opt out and look much better into where it would be. And then we can always opt in. And I agree with Doug that we should give everybody in town the right to have a say. And if it takes a little bit of work to do a referendum, a little bit of money, that's okay. So that's where I stand.
Anybody else? All right, so let me give you a little background here. I found it interesting. Did everybody read the information to those concerning the sale of medical marijuana for recreational and medicinal support from the president of Tompkins County Medical Society? The interesting thing about that was that there's two things that came up when I thought of this, and they touched exactly on the same ones without me reading this first. And one of them was schizophrenia, and one of them was OxyContin. And having been someone who's done that dance for 40 years, we started out with turpentine hydrate with codeine, which is 43% alcohol. We used to call it GI gin. And then they said codeine's bad, even though it was for cost, because having been 86% or 86 proof, it cuts through all the phlegm, fantastic drug, but people abused it. So we said we'll take out the codeine and we'll put in dextromethorphan. You probably see it, Robitussin DM, A1 for the cough suppression, still 43% alcohol. We found the bottles out in the parking lot. So the guy was drinking, imagine 4 ounces, he'd chug it, right? Okay, this is the reality. So now we go from Tylenol with codeine, which constipates you, upsets your stomach, even though you get your tooth extracted. It's terrible, terrible, terrible. And they come up with a wonderful drug, oxycodone. And what they do, they make it long acting. They make it OxyContin. And what do people do? They follow the rules 100%. Wrong. You know what they do? They grind it up. Anything that's long acting, you either chew it or you just either snort it, whatever, and you get a high. And then they came up with the idea of the hydrocodone. We've all had that. Now they tried to minimize that. And they said, oh, we don't make that long acting. And the pharmacist said, for God's sake, please don't do this, right? Oh, it won't hurt you. How many dances have we had there, right? Now we understand that this drug is legal, okay? Understand that. But the government makes mistakes. And who cleans up the messes now, right? You got people taking 120 tablets a month, and you're going to have to shut them down. Who's going to have to say no to them besides the doctors and the pharmacists, right? Not the ones who made the law. So let's go, okay, take it off the table, talk about money. You can get this in Union Springs right now. Anybody know anyone who buys cigarettes in Union Springs on the reservation? Guess where they're going? It's cheaper, right? Number one. Number two, how much money is there? I don't know. Is it a lot of money? Is it a little money? I don't know. No one can tell me those answers. How about which fund does it go in? Is it like sales tax in the BDB or does it go to ADA? We don't know. Let's just go ahead and pass it first and see. How about we do this instead? How about we just tap the brakes and see where this goes? And as law enforcement gets better ways to determine, like with breathalyzers that weren't there 15, 20 years ago, right? It'll be the same thing with this. And God forbid, if a kid dies on my watch because I voted yes for this instead of opting out. No, if they want to buy it down the road, God bless them, knock yourselves out. Let's see how it turns out. In the meantime, let's tap the brakes here. Personal opinion. Three of us are going to decide which way this room runs, or 4 or 5, excuse me, 4 or 5. But I've seen this dance before. Oh, by the way, money? How about those toll booths? Weren't you supposed to only have those for so long? You know what the government does? Hey, there's another one. Guess where that one's going? Over here. But, right? Same type of situation. Not that I don't trust them. I just don't trust them. And we've seen that time and time again, people who have lived long enough aren't naive. Right? And we've seen this dance over and over again. I don't know how many bridges we should have built by now that were full. Anyways, you know how I feel about this. So
We do. Okay.
I know your back's starting to clear up. So enough. So now where do we go from here?
We
We go up to the next one.
We go to the next one and vote.
So this would be the resolution adopting local law number 3 of 2021, opting out of allowing on-site cannabis consumption establishments within the town of Lansing. So a yes would mean we're opting out. Is that correct?
Yes.
This is for on-site.
This is number 8. I'm doing item number 8. I'm
Right.
following,
Right.
right?
This one is opting out of on-site cannabis consumption.
So a no vote means we stay in, a yes vote means we opt out. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes vote means you opt out.
Yes, correct. Yes vote, I think I just said that. Yes vote means, yes means no, and no means yes.
Yes. No. Yes.
Clear as mud.
Yes. No.
No, I don't want everybody to vote the wrong way on this if they don't want to.
If you want to opt out, you vote yes.
Yes.
That's what the resolution is.
So for lack of.
I think we're ready.
So agenda number 8, the resolution adopting local law number 3 of 2021, opting out of allowing on-site cannabis consumption establishments within the town of Lansing. I will make the motion to move that forward.
I'll second it.
Do you want to do any more discussion on that or not?
It's open, right? We have this first and second. Is there any more discussion? I don't hear anyone. Okay, Mrs. Munson?
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Doug Day,
Yes.
Ron Losey,
No.
Joseph Wetmore,
No,
Edward Levine.
Yes. Okay, that's a long motion. Number 9, resolution adopting local law number 4 of 2001, opting out of allowing cannabis retail dispensaries within the town of Lansing.
I'll move it. Or I'll
Okay.
second it, whatever.
Any further discussion? Munson?
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Doug Day,
Yes.
Ron Losey,
No.
Joe Wetmore, Joseph Wetmore.
no,
Edward Levine.
Yes. Okay. Moving on. Now we have item 10, which is the presentation of cryptocurrency, Lansing Advisory Committee on the power plant future. And as Brown so eloquently says, lactic. Is that right? Did I pronounce that right?
Is that a cartoon?
Always a pleasure to see you.
He seems like a, okay. Black.
Hillary, you got the floor.
Yep,
Okay,
you.
hold just a moment. Oh,
I'm going to give a brief overview of the report that we submitted to the town last week. And then Bill Klepak here may or may not feel the need to supplement what I've said a little bit. And we also have committee member Bert Land watching, and he may or may not have a supplemental comment. So my name is Hillary Lambert. I'm here tonight as vice chair of Black Hoof. And then Bill Klepak here may or may not feel. The Lansing Advisory Committee of the Town of Lansing Committee is tasked with keeping you, the town board, up to date on what we learn about the possible redevelopment of the Cayuga Power Plant Huron site of the lake. We inform you about possible projects and their potential impacts to the community and lake. Our reports are science and fact-based, and we sent you an annual report last April. On December 3, and thank you for the opportunity. The report is titled Information about Cryptocurrency Regulations and Potential for Bitcoin Mining Development. Our continuing research on behalf of the town of Lansing indicates that a Bitcoin operation, or more accurately, a cryptocurrency proof of work operation, may be under consideration for the Cayuga Power Plant Huron site. The information we have collected about this is provided in the report. We recommend that the board members and public read the report and ask questions of us and others. Our report also summarizes the experience of other communities where cryptocurrency operations have opened. This report provides you, the Lansing Town Board, with copies of the ordinances these communities have passed in after the fact attempts to bring the unanticipated environmental and financial impacts under control and to attempt to control expansion of cryptocurrency operations in their communities. Our report also discovered to power a cryptocurrency operation here. There's a lot to discuss under this heading. And in our final recommendations, our committee states that other cryptocurrency impacted communities strongly recommend that communities facing the possibility of this type of operation must get out in front of the situation. You must educate yourselves about the pros and cons and pass ordinances in advance of a concrete proposal coming before you. And because such preparatory work will take a while, our committee suggests that some sort of moratorium on cryptocurrency proposals might be put in place for Lansing. This would provide the necessary breathing room for education, community discussion, and putting protective ordinances in place. So that's my comment about the report we provided you, and the information, as you all know, if you're, watching the news or reading, keeps coming about cryptocurrency operations and their outsized impacts on New York State communities. So tonight, I'm providing you lucky people who showed up here in person with a small information packet. And we'll also send this to everybody via email. This includes cryptocurrency moratorium language from Messina, New York, that you might want to look at. And the big December 5 New York Times article about the rapid rollout of cryptocurrency operations in upstate New York and their impacts. We'll send you the links to these and other sources of information, and we'll keep you informed as we learn more, because that's our mission as your committee. Thank you.
So does anybody have any questions for Hillary?
Well, let's,
Unless somebody else wants to have another comment here and make this, I guess you're within your 10 minutes.
here's Bill Klepak on the committee. He's got a little bit more to say. We're taking advantage of our 10 minutes of your generous time. Thank you.
Thanks. Good evening, and thank you. As you know, the committee is much larger than Hillary and myself. And,
You gotta speak right in the microphone or we can't hear you online.
Okay, thank you, Joe. I was just saying that the committee is much larger than ourselves. There are many members of the committee. I'd like to underscore the time-sensitive nature of the moratorium should you choose to do so, because it appears as though things may be progressing at a fairly rapid rate. And as Hillary mentioned, the other communities that we have been in touch with have underscored that that's not a very good position to be in if you haven't already gotten your ducks in a row. I'm on the committee, as some of you know, by virtue of my public health role, although I do not speak for the health department and my work with the committee, but the committee was interested in my expertise with regard to that site and what we are concerned about with regard to toxic waste that are stored on that site, and what we don't know about what is leaching into the lake and into the stream and into the groundwater. That will be an issue before you to protect your residents, our residents. I'm a citizen of the town of Lansing. To protect us all as we go forward, that will fall on your shoulders as well. But with this particular form of cryptocurrency called proof of work, there is no business like this that we ever have had experience with. This is totally new territory for most of us. But the energy consumption, the thermal impacts have public health impacts that are important. And as we know, with the emissions that are occurring and potentially can occur even more and more proof of work cryptocurrency sites, climate impacts can be greater, and these translate into diseases that we in New York State have never really dealt with, or we have dealt with, but will get worse. Tick-borne diseases, for example, mosquito-borne diseases, people whose health is vulnerable to the increased heat of summer and the infrastructure impacts that can come about. We recognize in public health, and the committee does, the importance of a vibrant communities and a vibrant economy. Those are essential things for us to do well. We only need to look at this pandemic to know how the economy affects the health of the public. But if you look at a study, one of the first studies from the University of California, which came out recently, looking at the economic impacts of cryptocurrency across New York State, the picture is cautionary. And I urge you to consider it as you think about this. Revenues, they say, from proof of work cryptocurrency and the costs of that same type of industry are taken into account, and the net result can be negative. The summary of key points from that study are these. Energy costs are shunted onto businesses and residents. Businesses the cryptocurrency business, but other businesses, taxes not recouping costs. These are things that fall upon your shoulders, unfortunately, to have to weigh and consider. So upon you rests the burden of deciding what action to take or not to take. Reaffirmation of the time-sensitive nature of this matter we wish to urge and underscore. And we are certainly pleased to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, we were going to have a presentation tonight. I don't know how much time you want to have for Q&A. I do want to take advantage of the intellectual capital we have in the room here. But on the other hand, I think we can be brief on that. Does anyone have any questions? I have a few questions.
I've got a comment.
Go ahead, Doug.
I mean, unfortunately, I'm in my truck a lot, driving around, getting things and traveling around for other jobs, which I'd rather stay out and work on one job. But anyway, nonetheless, I believe I heard it on WHCU that the Dresden power plant, they were lined up for the cryptocurrency, the same thing, Bitcoin mining, and they were shut down, I believe, last week. And I don't know if there's any truth to that. Well, they were shut down for environmental reasons.
They're in the middle of discussion and possible lawsuits on that. The public, led very articulately by a lot of people with big concerns, has indicated that they would like to see ideally a cessation of operations there, and definitely not an expansion of operations. Anna Kellis, our state legislator, has set aside for this year, but will next year again put forward proposed statewide moratorium law, so that local communities can get ahead of this situation. And if you look at the report, you'll see that there's some indicators that some people may be considering moving an operation forward. And I think what I'm alarmed about, I saw in the news today that a small town halfway between Weedsport and Sterling, there's a Bitcoin operation proposed for that town. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the name of it. That's moving forward via consideration by state boards, but with no local input yet. And that really startled me. And I just think that Lansing, because of these possibilities, needs to do their homework ahead of time.
Is it true that it requires 500 megawatts? Because as I understand, the power plant itself only made 300 megawatts a day as opposed to having 500, and our electrical grid is shot, and I don't see this working out very well.
Yep, I don't know how the technicalities of that would work by myself. Brad there might have something to say about that, but I think, a lot of this is speculation at this point. And we'd love to, as your task force and fact-based informers to the town board about this situation, we'd be happy to provide you with information and answer your specific questions.
I'm all set, thanks. Sorry about that, it took long.
Anyone else have any comments? Rowan?
I was just going to say, even though I've been in on most of these meetings and heard a bunch of these presentations, I know I still have a million questions. And so I propose that we figure out a way to have a bigger training session or a working session for the town board where we can sit down and get deeper into a lot of this stuff. And, not this month probably, but the sooner the better, so we can get out ahead of things. That's all.
I would appreciate that, more training, because I feel like a real dunce when it comes to Bitcoins. I really don't understand it very well. And I read the whole report and was really quite shocked that it might be considered right here, and that is. So if we could have more training like Bronwyn is suggesting, I would appreciate that very much. It's a craze. A lot of people are investing in it. It's moving very asked, I think it's out and about, it would be in our best interests.
Anything else? Joe?
I agree. I think that we ought to schedule a special meeting in January to sit down and talk about this. I'd like to talk with our staff about, what some of these suggestions are and how possible they are for Lansing and how they'd fit. And I know we don't have time for it now. I know we're not going to have time for it in our January meeting. And I think setting up a special meeting with an agenda just on this to really go over it and discuss some of these possibilities and maybe bring in some more people to talk on specific topics that board members would like to hear more detail on would be a great idea. Can we schedule that now? Or at least, agree that we're going to put it on the agenda for sometime in January?
I think we should agree to discuss it. And we'll do that later tonight.
I'm not sure what you're saying.
I'm saying I'm not going to react right now and say we're going to call a special meeting. What I'm saying is that we need to discuss this tonight, later, to see where we want to do this, be pragmatic about it. In the meantime, get more information. And I have some questions before we move forward any longer. But as far as this goes, rather than jump right in for a special meeting, let's, first of all, I have some questions here first. And I don't want to take any more time away from Joe. I want to give you plenty of time to do that, but I don't want all of a sudden this need to do a meeting. Let's discuss it later tonight and see what we can accomplish, what we can't accomplish, what can be accomplished by our committee ahead of time. Do you have any more comments, Joe?
I'm good for the moment. Thank you.
All right, so.
Ed, can I make one comment?
Sure, Bert, go ahead.
I thank you for having us in. Good evening. I would like the idea of a special working session. This is a really deep and complex issue with a lot of pieces and parts and unknowns. I would say this, though. I think one thing that might crystallize the discussion is what approvals does the town of Lansing actually have? And it really depends on what is proposed. So if it's like these 600-foot long buildings, that seems like that would be a site plan approval. We've seen in other places, DuPont, the old DuPont plant in Niagara Falls, where they just moved in storage containers filled with 700 boxes of Bitcoin mines and didn't need a building permit for that. Or maybe they needed a building permit. They didn't need site plan review, so it's non-discretionary. So they probably needed an electric permit or something. But I think it would be, first and foremost, you don't want to be surprised about something happening and what are the approvals. And I don't have the answer for that. It really depends on what's being proposed, and they haven't proposed anything. But so yeah, I'd be happy to participate in a workshop special around this. So thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All right, let me put some ideas on here. Procedure. I'm just speaking, we're having a conversation, okay? Is this being reactive? In other words, has anybody applied for this yet, CJ? Have they applied? Is this already started and we don't know about it? And now we're trying to play catch up again for the power plant?
That's a good question. I would say from a land use perspective, the answer is no, as far as the town is concerned. My understanding is that there has been a filing by one of the parent companies with the Securities and Exchange Commission. Again, that's a federal filing. It's not relevant to the town. And so the answer, as far as the town is concerned, town zoning is concerned, is no.
Question number 2, do we have any authority as with solar? We don't, because it's now a 94C. And it's out of our hands. Is this situation going to be similar to that where the town has no input?
I don't believe that this would be a use preempted. Oh, I didn't know if that question was for me. Town council's also here as well and can speak to this.
This may shock people, but I would be in favor of a moratorium right away. Tighten it down right now. Get right out in front of this. We don't know about this. We need to get a specific, I'd like to talk to our attorney about this also. But once again, what do you want to do in 6 months to a year, right? What ducks do you want to get in a row? Okay, let's not deviate over into fly ash. Let's not deviate over into something else. That's a DEC thing, right? That's not our purview. I understand all that. I understand sometimes we have a little bit of reaction here. Let's just deviate back to what we're looking at, number 1. Number two, this power company is gonna put in that data center, they're kicking in a lot of bucks for it. Okay, so let's have that discussion. If it isn't this, if it's not Bitcoin, what is our concern? Is it the actual industry or is it the consumption of power? Because data centers consume a lot of power. That means bigger picture. NICEAG needs to give us a bigger wire. They need to upgrade their grid because we're moving into the 22nd century and we're antiquated. You want to put everything on the grid, electric, everything else. We need to have those upgrades. And we need to have NICEAG or whoever's providing those infrastructure to upgrade that right away, in my opinion. The third thing is we need more power. And ironically, when the conversation now is circling back to nuclear, which ironically Bell Station was intended for way back when. Now, is that an option or not? For right now, reasonable attainable goals, right? How do we get there? How do we transition over? And where does that power come from? Because these data centers are going to be drawing power. It's amazing that this thing is a power manufacturer. Now they're a power behemoth consumer. And for some reason, I'm envisioning a frying pan and a fire, right? Type of thing. And having said all that, we need to fix it so that they can do their job so we can get our tax base up, because that was huge at one time. So how do we partner with them so we can get more power to them? I mean, it may not be Bitcoin, that might be the shiny object right now, because everybody wants to get in front of us. That's where you make your money, right? When you invest early, not when you try to chase it. And we don't know where this is going. So those are all things that I would consider and get in front of this. But if there is a moratorium, there has to be a specific action plan and what ducks you need to get in a row ahead of time. If this is to block it, I don't know if that's appropriate. Let's find out if it is or not. And not to zone it out. But if you put a freeze on this right now, you're in front of it. So you don't all of a sudden look like you're taking or you're reacting. Now we had that problem with Dollar General. And the attorney sends us a letter on Wednesday, and they go for their site review on Monday. Guess where this is going? That's a different situation. They're put their application in. These people have not. So these are things to consider. If we are going to go to a moratorium, what are we going to basically accomplish? And we have to have some pretty good specifics. And some of that, you may have 6 months to year to find out from these other areas how well it worked out or didn't. I don't know about blocking it, but in all fairness, the power company is also putting a lot of money. I call it the power company, there's nothing there. They're putting a lot of money to get that dark fiber up there, right? Which is the bigger question. You put the dark fiber up there, that backbone, you got 2 miles on both sides, you can get internet. We never had internet before. And my understanding is, talking to Brown and everyone, that there's an RFP already to put that dark fiber in there. So I want to be a good partner with them, but I also want to be a good partner with our citizens. And sometimes that tightrope gets a little thin. So these are all things I would put on the table for the board to consider. I don't know so much about a special meeting because that is giddy up time. You got to hurry, hurry, hurry. I would rather have some more time to look it over and say, you know what? We're not going to block it. We simply want to educate ourselves on that and how we can be a good partner with you, because we want our business to succeed, but we don't want to pay the price either, right? So we got some work to do. This has been very informative, and I had the pleasure of meeting the LACFIP people. I was the 50-mile spare tire that evening, but it was well worth it. You have a good group. I think they're very thoughtful, very considerate. And I think we also have a vision, which is nice. And we have other areas like Somerset, other areas where we see this going in right now. Okay, let's see what the economic impact of it is. Let's also see what the physical impact of it is. Because you know, doctor, as well as I do, a lot of these drugs we have go overseas first, because that's where the guinea pigs are, to see if they work or not, if they come to America under a patent. And we've done that with this. I don't want to be the first mouse. I don't want to be the guinea pig. I want to say, you know what? This may not be so good or not. I don't know. But I'm also concerned, I don't want to not have any dark fiber up there either, because we're a coal impact community and we should have it also. So there's a lot of different balls in the air here. But we got a lot of stuff to think about. And your words carry weight, okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Stay in touch, please. CC us a lot, okay? Now have,
Sorry, just.
don't be, it's always nice to see you, my friend.
Thank you.
Let's move on to privilege of the floor. Do we have anyone here in the town hall that wants their privilege of the floor? CJ, you have anybody privilege of the floor?
Nope, no one in the waiting room.
Well, okay. Moving on. Number 12, we have the library report. That's in your packet,
No, it's not.
not in your packet. We have youth services, number 13. Let me just swing by. Do you have anything you want to add up on them? Okay. Are they being affected also by this new concern we have with the virus? Okay. Agenda item number 13, Lansing Youth Support. Thank you so much. This is a wonderful report. Anything to add to that?
They're affected by the school going.
You know what came to mind also, not to deviate too much, was the Gravel Center. Because they were gonna open January, right? Now I don't know if that's gonna be covered, right? Okay. We have Mike Stigler, are you there someplace? No, okay, we'll catch up to him later. Agenda item 15, Park and Rec. As you probably know, and
Segue
time, right? Is that a new retail store? We're gonna go to Segway. Segway about the $750,000 grant that Pat and his department, I mean, just imagine that with the presentation with the drone. And it was a narrative by Jenna. And they're going through this drone and showing everything here. It was absolutely phenomenal. I mean, this is like professional stuff. And then we have CJ who says, third time's a charm. I'm not giving up yet, right? Kind of dug your heels in and said, this is going to be the one, right? And I think we're in a little bit of a better mood now than we were a year ago. So, okay, Pat, you first. Anything else you want to add to that?
You said it all.
I did.
You stole it.
Well, you got me pumped now.
I was
I waited 3 years for
I was
that.
gonna say we had a good day today and you took it all away.
No. This is where I just gave you the keys to the Cadillac.
No,
okay?
that's all I'm gonna say, because Mrs. Munson's looking at me to move on.
Okay.
So very good day for Parks and Rec today.
So Parker and Rec's gonna work with CJ and her team, and we're gonna just make the magic happen. And so if we need some money, did anybody say ARPA? Maybe we can put some towards that, right? Just drop that hint. Okay, let's move on then.
Segue.
Turn left. So highway report.
Short and sweet, it's there. Everybody got the questions, happy to answer them. Process of moving forward on the evening.
Okay,
Nothing.
nothing?
You're not gonna come to the mic.
Isn't that redundant?
Well, Michael plays hurt. We just taped him up. He just had some surgery on his arm. We just tape him up, send him back in,
There you go.
and off we go.
Good evening, everybody. Any questions?
I want to thank Mother Nature for giving us a break here. It was raining today. I just imagine if that was snow again,
Yeah.
that 4% of whatever we have left in our contractual, whatever, that would have been gone today. And if we can stretch this out, where safety comes first, but if Mother Nature can just like calm down until maybe January 2nd or so, or 3rd, or whatever that is, that'd be wonderful, if not longer.
Fingers crossed.
I would like to thank you for the two really, thick reports that you dropped off to us about the various roads. And my question is, when is the board going to sit down and discuss the various options we have with them?
Is that directed to me or you guys at the board? I figured your slate was quite full in December, and being at the end of the year, I figured the more time the merrier. There's a lot to digest there. There's a lot to consider, obviously. And I'm happy to bring in someone from DG Miller as well as CJ to sit down with the board and give out as much information as we can to help the board make the decision.
The other thing, if you're talking about these two roads we're talking about, right, is that I think we also need to have the legal's input on it and to see what the options are there. And I think that maybe, I don't want to promise something we can't keep, because January's meeting is pretty packed. But that's something that, well, we need to go to executive session again tonight for the other stuff. We may discuss certain items, we'll see, just generically.
Well, let me pose a quick question to CJ. Would this be the sort of thing that we should send to the capital committee to discuss the fate of these two roads and give a recommendation to the town board?
Yeah, that would be a great use among many other important town projects to essentially prioritize and strategize. In some ways, it can also help to evaluate the funding. I have reached out to Ithaca Tompkins County Transportation Council already about some possibilities. I know there's some significant infrastructure money coming or expected in 2022. So trying to weigh, how that would be prioritized along with the funding. Yeah, that would be very wise. Yeah.
But that capital committee has not been formed yet, correct?
I'm hoping for January, which we're going to talk about during work session.
I'm looking forward to this committee getting going because I think there's a lot of work that it can do. And I really like the idea of it pulling all these different directions together instead of looking at little micro parts and not having it fit into the general plan for the town.
Okay, any other comments or questions? Okay, let's move on then. CJ, you're up. Director of Planning.
Okay, in the interest of time, just field any questions that the board might have.
Any questions for CJ? Okay, engineers report, ag report. Now we're on the consent agenda, number 20. Okay, Mrs. Munster, walk me through it again.
Okay, it's a big one tonight. Almost ran out alphabet letters here. So, usually, you different town board members read them. Goes from A to, I don't know, T or Q or something. Let's see. Goes down to
P.
To P to T. To T. So.
Thank you.
So, various town board members read all those, and then at the very end, we'll have someone, we usually just read the titles of them. And then at the end on page 26, we'll do the motion, the second, and I'll do the roll call vote.
So there's 20 of them here, so we don't feel left out. So that'll be 4 each. Go in alphabetical order, so that way you don't jump the line. Okay, so Andrea, you want to lead off the first 4, please?
Okay. Motion authorizing town of Lansing supervisor to sign agreement between the town of Lansing and the Food Net Meals on Wheels. Motion authorizing updating town of Lansing employee handbook regarding Family Medical Leave Act. Motion to approve carrying forward vacation time exceeding 40 hours. Motion to approve Guy A. Crowe as special counsel. Minton versus Town Zoning Board of Appeals.
Okay, Brown, the next 4, please. Start with E and Edward.
E, resolution hiring part-time school crossing guard for the Lansing School District. F, resolution hiring part-time information aide in court office. G, resolution hiring temporary information aides in the Parks and Recreation office. H, resolution updating employee Tyler Todd position and job classifications to full-time motor equipment operator.
Okay, Doug, the next 4 start with I as in India.
I, resolution appointing receiver of taxes and deputy receiver of taxes for 2022 and 2023. J, resolution approving the Town of Lansing Conservation Advisory Council 2021 annual report. K, resolution for Conservation Advisory Council member recommendations. And L, resolution for planning board member recommendations.
Okay, Joe, the next four start with M as in Mary.
Resolution for zoning board of appeals member recommendations and resolution accepting and adopting the Tompkins County Hazard Mitigation Plan 2021 update. O, resolution authorizing execution of a contract with OpenGov Inc. to provide interactive cloud-based software for permitting and licensing. And I'm doing P, resolution accepting Tompkins County Affordable Housing Affordability and Supportive Infrastructure Grant Agreement to implement town center planning.
Okay, Q, resolution to renew Tompkins County Industrial Development Agency's Lansing Town Center Incentive Zone Policy. R, resolution approving Highway Department purchase of equipment. S, resolution reappointing members to Town of Lansing Broadband Committee. T, resolution approving audit and budget modifications and supervisor's report.
So I'll move that.
I'll second it.
Mrs. Munson?
Andrew Benson,
Yes.
Doug Day,
Yes.
Ron Losey,
Yes.
Joseph Whitmore,
Yes.
Edward Levine.
Yes. Okay, we have to go into executive session. We have two gentlemen here that get up real early in the morning. Is it okay if we move it, since no one's here, no one's on the screen that I can see, right, except Guy and all the employees? Would it be appropriate, I know this is out of protocol, but can we move them ahead so we get these two out of here, so because they get up at what, 5:30, something like that?
4:30.
4:30? Oh, God. Okay.
Hey, wait a minute. I get up 4:32. Not 4:32,
There you
but
go.
4:30 also.
Are you feeling better?
Who, me?
Okay, so I'd like to move in executive session if I may.
Shut it off.
Can you specify the reason for executive session, please?
Personnel. Personnel.
Let's see. How about number 2, medical, financial, credit, or employment history of a particular person / corp or matters leading to said dismissal, removal, promotion, appointment, or employment, discipline, demotion, or suspension. That sound about right? Sure.
And can we tell our home audience watching on YouTube about how long we think this will last?
This is fast. You can say yes.
3 minutes.
No, I would say no more than 10 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
So that means Mary Ellen, Guy could stay, please. I think Mary Ellen's gonna have to maybe go get another cup of coffee. CJ, I think you should stay. You're the host. That about it?
Well, we have to vote on this,
Yes, we do. I'm just being thorough about this first.
and then you've got to cut off YouTube.
Yes.
But
Is that this
CJ
one?
will do that, I believe,
Okay.
right?
Yep,
on that.
I'm gonna stop it.
Okay,
So we're keeping Pat and Debbie in as well?
Debbie, you have to be here?
No,
No, you
Okay.
get something quick also.
but I guess I need to come back, right?
Yes, sir.
I can go too. I don't need to be the host. So,
Okay,
I mean, I could stay the host, but not be here.
Debbie goes. So I moved it. Is there a second?
Sure,
Is that Joe?
yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?